Welcome to the Peachtree Podcast. Peachtree Learning Center is a nonprofit in Middle Tennessee dedicated to training and discipling students in all the fine arts to become excellent and skilled in order to spread the kingdom of God into the world of the arts. On this podcast, we will discuss topics designed to encourage, uplift, educate, and equip people to proclaim the kingdom more deeply in their own families and communities. Welcome to Peachtree's podcast. We have a special episode today. We're going to be talking with several members of our music faculty. We're talking to Miss Sarah, Miss Lucy, and Miss Olivia, and we have some fun things to talk about with them. We are in the middle of Christmas season, and for us this year, that's been extra busy. We have typically had one Christmas show and some open houses with our music classes. This year, we've got extra music classes in our second location, plus we have mounted a Christmas show for that location as well. And then we also had an advanced drama show and just lots of fun things swirling. Plus our lobby marketplace is in full swing. So it's been a very busy couple of weeks. But they are taking a little time out today to talk to us about a couple of things that I wanted to get a different perspective on. So welcome to the podcast, everyone.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to talk about a little bit about, first of all, you are all young adults who were raised in homes that basically fostered your creativity and allowed you to explore what gifts might be in you to use for God's glory in a creative way. And that's sometimes very hard to do as a parent, to allow your child to pursue that past hobby stage. So I would love to hear from y'all the things that you think might have influenced your passion and your commitment to actually living out what creatively God has in store for you. So I don't know who wants to go first, but who wants to jump in on that?
Well, as someone who had many hobbies before they found what I actually wanted to do, I can attest that I felt encouraged in trying all of my hobbies as a child. I was not allowed to be a quitter, but I did try many things and was encouraged to kind of see them through a certain point. And then it kind of took a turn toward music, and but I had confidence that I could continue in that because I was allowed to try all these different things beforehand. Mm-hmm. So it kind of was an interest and then turned into just more of, okay, I'm getting to the age where I need to decide what I want and need to do. And that was what I was encouraged and
mm-hmm. Allowed to explore. Lucy, what about you?
So I don't ever remember like selecting what I wanted to do because I didn't really have the pressure of being told I needed to pick something, I guess. Like I just had lots and lots of time to figure it out. And I mean, my first piano lessons I was, signed up for, and I didn't really particularly ask to take them, but right. I figured out that I liked it. And then after that, I mean, I had my grandmother particularly encouraged me to keep going in that. But as far as what I was going to do when I grew up, without that pressure, I was able to figure it out and just kind of follow where the Lord was taking me with that until one day I kind of realized, oh, you're doing this all the time now. Mm-hmm. And I never actually consciously made the decision, but it was always nice to know that I was, whatever I was wanting to do and was feeling like I needed to do, they were okay with that. Mm-hmm. And so both my parents were very supportive in that, and they were not concerned about how that was going to be profitable in the long run. Mm-hmm. They were just concerned about, is this what you're supposed to do? Is this what you're good at doing? Because if I was good at doing that, then that was a reason enough for me to keep doing it.
Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense. You have anything you want to add, Sarah?
Yeah, for me growing up, I was, I think I was kind of a one and done as far as hobbies went. I wanted to do violin, and that's all I was really ever interested in. And when I got to teenage years and the time that people start looking at college and stuff, my parents were very encouraging in trying to invest in the skill that I wanted to do. And so if that included college, it included college. If it didn't include college, it didn't. It definitely included further instruction and research and, further post-high school training and experience. Mm-hmm. But I definitely felt that all doors were opened, which was very encouraging and honestly allowed me to focus on the skill that I wanted to have and on the training that I wanted to go through, and not have a lot of emotions and time worrying about pressures for options that I had to do or certain lifestyles that I had to have in the next 10 years of my life. I really only ever planned a year or two in advance. We just prayed about it. And it's like, okay, let's go do this for this year. And then something changed. Like, okay, let's pray about it. Okay, I'm going to go do that for this year. And I've never had a 5-year trajectory or a 10-year trajectory. But there's actually been a lot of freedom in that. So
that makes sense.
Olivia
touched on something you said. You mentioned the idea of figuring out what you needed to do. And I think that's a pretty powerful concept, because I think that goes counter to a lot of viewpoints that say we need to find something that we can do or something that's really profitable versus what do you need to do. Because I do think everybody has at least one or two things that God has planted in them to do that are going to be things that bless the world or bless their communities, bless their families, that need to be done.
Right.
And if they're undone, that is kingdom work that didn't get accomplished through you. It will definitely get accomplished. We know that from Esther's story. He will accomplish it, but you might have missed out on the privilege of getting to do that. So I love the fact that you have that concept in your head that.
And that's opposed to doing what you want to do as well. Sometimes
that's true.
You kind of just look at your giftings from a bird's eye view and you go, okay, well, what has God given me that I'm naturally good at, but also not just depending on talent, what do I need to pursue to actually develop a skill that can be useful in the kingdom? And it's not just thinking about what you want to do. It's not just an open book of you can pick and choose.
True.
Necessarily.
That's also a fallacy. I think we like to tell people when they're young, you can be anything you want to be. And that's just a bald-faced lie. I mean, you can't be anything you want to be. I could never have been, a champion runner or swimmer. I really loved swimming, but there was no way I was ever going to do that well.
I think that's kind of actually where the American dream, which is great and awesome, but where kind of we shoot ourselves in the foot with it, because like if you can do anything, if higher education is accessible, then why would you not do the thing that will get you, the most income or the, the most opportunities or whatever. And so we shoot for that when we don't necessarily even want it, or we're not even very good at it, but it's there. We could take it if we wanted to. So why wouldn't we? Right. So that's a hard thing to let go of, I think, of, I could do this, but I'm not going to, because that's not where I'm gifted necessarily.
Well, and it exposes an idolatry, because if we think that our days are to be spent in something that brings us the most gain materially, that's an idol. So it definitely exposes an idolatry that is very subversively included in almost every viewpoint, even in believers' lives. I think it's very hard to uproot because it's so ingrained from. I mean, I think it began becoming part of American culture with the American dream. You say, well, you can come here and make a living at whatever you choose to do. That's a great concept, but I think at some point it starts to break down if that's your ultimate goal, because that's not supposed to be your ultimate goal.
So. I can add to that if I can. I think for me, teaching in general is that because all I wanted to do was play and quote be a musician. Like, well, that's one of the most broadest terms on the earth is quote be a musician. There's all these ways you can be a musician. But when I was, I guess, finishing high school, I kind of found myself in some teaching situations, and I was told I was pretty good at it, and my students really liked me, and they were learning things, and I was definitely spending a lot of time at that point, and by a lot of time, I mean the majority of the day, 6 hours or so on practice and on the skill itself. And then I got to the point okay, well, I don't have schoolwork anymore. I'm just working on my assignments from music lessons and classes, which were college intense, but I didn't have any prerequisite classes. And so I was teaching, and that was more of a practical decision, but it was also, there's this thing that I'm passionate about and love, and this was an outlet to use it as service in the kingdom. And so I see it as serving children and serving families for their life, really, because teaching is a can be a ministry for sure, but I think something about music teaching, which we all have in common here, is kind of a special thread of that. Like people always remember their music teachers, and music teachers are very impactful in their lives. And I get to do the majority. It is exactly if it's done well, and so I just love. Now I love it, but it's also definitely a kind of a service decision, as well as
Practical decision.
practical decision.
It was a good way to turn around and use your skills in a practical way that was also serving and hopefully helping other people. Yeah, that's a good thought, which helps actually transition to the other topic I wanted to cover with y'all. We're going to stop there in our interview with a lot of our music faculty. That was a short portion of our interview, but the next portion is longer and a different topic. We're going to come back next week with some interviews from Peachtree and on-the-ground type interviews with students, asking them for their favorite traditions at home during Christmas. It kind of goes along with our theme of rootedness and involves some of our student population. I'm very excited about sharing that with you next week. We will be off the air the week of Christmas itself, and so the second part of our interview with Miss Lucy, Miss Olivia, and Miss Sarah will be airing on the day after New Year's. So enjoy this first part, and we'll look forward to sharing the rest of our interview with you after New Year's. But in the meantime, enjoy our podcast next week when we focus on home traditions and how to celebrate Christmas. Thank you so much for joining us today. To support this podcast, please go follow us on your podcast platform of choice. And if you're interested in knowing more about the work of Peachtree, please go visit our website at peachtreelearningcenter.com for more information.